somebody on the spot right now. I want to thank her for pulling up. Hello. DiMotta, can you give us like 10 minutes?
What?
Can you talk to us for like 10 minutes?
Oh, sure.
Come on up. Yo, round of applause for Jennifer DiMotta, please. Hold on, let me put these logos back up.
What are we doing?
So I'm going to tell y'all something real quick before she speaks. So I didn't know who Jennifer DiMotta was the first time I met her. I invited her on the podcast. I had no idea, right? I got a bunch of jackets in the back for the homeless. It looks like a mess. I had a whole bunch of other women around that were interviewing each other. It was just like a fun time.
It was.
Yet and still, the seriousness of Jennifer DiMotta, I had no idea who she was and what she was talking about. And so I started looking into her. I started reading her stuff. I started reading her posts, and it hit home with me. So for her to actually be up here today, I appreciate you, because she gives it to you raw and real with no BS. So I want her to give y'all at least 10 minutes of some gems, of some jewels that you could take home with you. I'm trying to wrap up here at 8:30 so you guys can still mingle around. I'm gonna put some music on, some jazz or whatnot. And then we're out of here, yo. But DiMotta, thank you so much.
Well, maybe I should just take questions.
That's fine too, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, like, listen, I work with, thank you. I work with founders of all sizes. I spent 18 years inside 7 different organizations and growing different organizations in different ways, but also kind of under the same methodology. And so my methodology is I help founders improve how they lead, how they grow, how they scale, and how they profit in the end. And I know that sounds really simple on the surface, but I'd have to spend about 3 hours with you to get into the details of how exactly I do that, what my actual system is. But across those 7 businesses, I say this truly very humbly, but I had no failures. I had failures in those businesses, but actually getting from A to Z, I got A to Z in all 7 businesses. And just a lot of that was a lot of failures in between, and a lot of learning, and a lot of understanding what to do next, and then build that playbook. So what do? I now have taken that playbook to founders, and I help kind of customize that playbook into a founder's business, especially when a founder has a real desire to grow. Like I've got founders who want to go from 1 to 10 million. I got founders who want to go from 50 to 150 million. I got founders who want to go from 300 to a billion, let's say, and all of that is possible, but it's under an operating system that I have just learned over the course of my career what works and what doesn't work, and I work under those 4 pillars, if you will. So I know that's really high level. I'm sorry if that's a little too soapboxy.
So besides getting attached to their idea, which both of you mentioned earlier, what is the next mistake that you see founders make?
Yeah, so being very blind that your idea is amazing and then not paying attention to the data is definitely, it's a hard lesson to learn. But the next lesson is once you do have traction, I see this with every single business, 100% of businesses I work with, is too much founder dependency. Too much trails back up to the founder. Too many decisions trail up to the founder. Too much work trails up to the founder. And the founder is the limiting factor to scale. So that is the easiest question, and it's a great question too, because I think people forget that it's not something else. It's truly them in the end. And are there answers to get out of that? Absolutely.
How does the founder get out of the way? So as you can tell, I'm really passionate about what I do, but I don't want to be tied. I don't want to work in the business, and I'm burnt out. It's 10 years of this work. I'm scaling, but I want to be able to sit on a beach in 3 years and literally and automate my things. I don't want, we're having a conversation with my board for the nonprofit about depending on me for decisions. And, I'm like, create workflows, create automations. I'm the last person y'all need to come ask a question to, even though I'm the visionary. This is the playbook, but how do I move myself out and still, it's still my baby, right? But I attribute to this company as a child, as a baby. It's now 10 years old. It doesn't need me as much. At 18, you're out on your own. You don't need me. So how do you get to that space of pulling yourself out, even though, it's still my baby? But I understand from a parent's perspective, having adult children, I'll give you advice and do whatever you need to do. You'll figure it out. But I don't want to be able to do that with my business, because what if you don't figure it out and then the business fails? So how do you make that transition?
Listen, these are marathons, not sprints on any level. I mean, if you're going to sprint out of your founder dependency, you will fail. I'm sure you will flop. But so it's a marathon, and a lot of it is where somebody like myself comes in. And there's other people besides myself, obviously, but it's somebody like myself that's going to hold you accountable. And every single week, I'm going to ask you what 1 to 2 responsibilities are on your plate right now that need to come off, and who can they go to on your team? And the first thing is going to be, I don't know. And I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to say, well, and we have weekly conversations, or every single week, and I'm going to ask you every single week, so you're going to answer at some point in time, and you're going to give me a real answer. And then you're going to be like, I don't have anyone. Well, bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit. Like, some of that is me challenging, and you need people to challenge you. When you're a founder, it's a lonely world, and you have no one probably challenging you. And what you need the most as a founder is someone challenging you on a daily basis. You need to get out of your own way. Tell me what you've been working on this week, and I might listen to what you've been working on. Well, that doesn't sound like that's the highest and best use of your time. Who do you have on your team that can take that? I don't know. Well, let's talk about each person on your team. If you want to make this hard, we're going to sit on this call for 2 hours. And and we're going to go through every single person, and we're going to figure out who that, and then you're going to come on 2 weeks from now, you're probably going to be, I didn't do that. And that's how a lot of my agreements kind of start, is they don't do it. And I get on top of them all over again, and they're like, shit, Jennifer's going to ask me again. And part of this, I think, is I spent 18 years in a corporate world, and I built teams from 50 people to then 100 to then I had a 500-person team. So if you think I'm doing things as a chief marketing and digital officer, no, I'm not, because that's not my job. And it's not fair to my team for me to get in there and do things that they should be doing, that they should be empowered to do. So I had a kind of different kind of upbringing where I got a chance to learn how to not be, let's say, chief marketing and digital officer dependent, so that I can see what happened. The business grow. The business cannot grow on founder dependency. It cannot grow, it cannot scale. And a lot of times people see my experience and see that I'm going to get on you, and they know they need that. They just are starting to get real with themselves. They need somebody to challenge them, pressure test them, hold them accountable. So it's almost the easy answer, but it is a marathon, not a sprint. I don't suggest jumping, going, I'm going to be not founder dependent as of tomorrow. That will not work.
Congrats on scaling those businesses. If you're already doing millions and you're trying to 3x or 10x a company, there's only so many levers you can pull to increase revenue. I'm not as interested in operations. What was the specific lever? Was it pouring money into ads? Was it hiring 5 times as many salespeople? Was it producing more content? Or in one of those 7, what was the specific mechanism to 3x or 10x the revenue side?
And I'm going to say, where does it all start? With the data. I am a P&L guru. I let the P&L tell me where things should happen. A lot of times, and I do bottoms-up P&L. So I will do, and I'll get really tactical here, just to prove a point. I will do a marketing channel, bottoms-up point of view. I will do a client type, bottoms-up point of view. I will do a product type or category type, bottoms-up point of view. There's usually a lot right in there. And that's without even going net new. That's saying, what am I not pushing harder on? Or what's trending, and I can make a winner a bigger winner, which is my favorite thing to do. I think it's stupid to try to make a loser a winner. It's a loser, just like James said, fucking fold him. Fold him. If it's a winner, I guarantee you're not paying enough attention on it and make it a bigger winner. That's a lot of times where my shtick goes with revenue, is make winners bigger winners. But I will go across and do a lot of bottoms up on revenue growth. And I make my founders do a lot of revenue growth plans. They'll do a lot of tops down. They'll be like, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pick on you a little bit because it's not fair because I don't even know if you've done a revenue growth. But I will say that's a nice revenue growth plan, 4.8 million. Have you shown me how you're going to get there? Exactly how you're going to get there? And then we start looking at what's trending so that we can say, how can that get to 10? Kind of thing, if that makes sense. So that's what I've done, like at Office Depot, Sports Authority, Blue Mercury, all those places, is I just get the deeper level data and I let it sort of start to point me in different directions. Sure, can I plug into more paid traffic? Yes. Will that just turn my profit upside down? Yes. That's not the only answer. You got to find a number of different answers and then go after your top three and move forward and see what happens. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks for being here. My question is a bit simpler. What would you say to someone who has an aspiring entrepreneurial spirit into how to become a founder? I just graduated.
Well, first, congratulations on that. Go Mavs. I graduated at UNO as well. Go Mavs. That's right. So I was in corporate for a long time. I was in corporate until 2017. And if you would have asked me, I don't know, in 2015, what was the rest of my career look like, and I would never have said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Not a chance. I don't come from entrepreneurial parents or anything like that. Never even thought about it. What I do really well is I don't just talk about things, I do them. I take action, and sometimes I just end up in a muddy mess, and I get up and I go do something else. Like, I keep taking action. I think execution creates the greatest clarity you're ever going to get. You can do all these PowerPoints all you want, but unless you're willing to execute, you'll never get the clarity that you want. And I think, like I tell my clients this all the time, stop thinking about what you want to do and then go just try something and you will get more clarity. I guarantee it, especially if you go talk to potential clients or something like that. So if you want to be a founder, then go be a founder. Think of something that's in your heart. I mean, I think the best thing about the pitches that actually I didn't see at J-Tank, so I think this is an amazing thing I saw about the pitches, is I always think about why that person and why now. I think you guys all answered it so well. I was like, where's Nick? Okay. I think that was such a great answer. So, why you, why now? Now, what's the pain point? What's the solution to kind of those questions? And then start taking some chances. I don't think you have to go out there and find investors and go get $1 million and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't even do that on your first round. I would get out there and try to do something that you could truly try to cash flow with on your own, to be honest. That's where I would start. I wouldn't end there, but I would start there, personally. I don't know if you have an answer to that. That's probably a shitty answer.
All right, I'll give you some real shit. Do a lot of taste tests. You saw a lot of passion tonight, something that, especially you two, but this is you could feel it, it's palpable, and you got to find what that is, something that you can really connect with. Because if you're an entrepreneur, I don't recommend it to people. I don't. I'll tell you not to do it, because you have to be ready for lows that you can't comprehend. You have to put things on the line where you might not be able to pay your bills next month. You might have to be eating ramen for 6 months and, tuna and things like that. And you have to be at peace with that. And the only way that can happen is if you're doing something that you're incredibly passionate about.
Let's see. So I really liked what you said about starting something, but finding the customers, offering something of value. Sales, because sales is going to be more important and offering value than anything else. But also I noticed, so I want to understand more, like with Uprisers and growth partners, is it about finding companies that have like found some level of traction and are like maybe a couple years in, they're growing and they want to grow more or do what they're doing but do it better? And just, what's the decision point in part about having that sort of stage as a service? And then what do you see as like the difference between somebody starting from scratch trying to find traction versus somebody that's needing to grow?
So yes, Uprisers Growth Partners works with companies for the most part that already have traction and that need to speed up but do it more efficiently. They could be a little flatlined on the top. They could just know they're operationally a bit messy, and they're seeing it in their numbers. Their profits are eroding just slightly. Or just there's a number of other kind of inflection points that are going on. But they definitely, like I've got a business who wants to go from 4 to 40 million in the next 6 years. I got a business who wants to go from 300 to 600 million in the next 3 years. And that's my shtick, I guess. So back to the advice that James just gave. That's what I did for 18 years. That's what I'm super passionate about. I am passionate about being the integrator to the visionary. Okay, the visionary understands their product, has a passion for their product, has a passion to get it out there, understands who their client is, and I'm here to make it explode, but in a profitable way. So in some instances, I might kind of step in and be that person on a fractional level. In some instances, I'm helping the founder cross that bridge from being that visionary to being more of that better and exceptional operator. And in other instances, I'm saying, listen, why don't you level up to be a visionary and why don't you hire an integrator? So it's kind of the coaching. I kind of look at the scenario, but I do mostly work on businesses with traction. What I tell Glenn is I am happy to give my time to businesses that do not have traction yet. Like I am very financially knowledgeable. I have a lot of financial acumen. I'm on the board of a public company. First of all, that's all you need if you're on the board of a public company is financial oversight. You really don't need a whole lot more. And I love financials. I think financials tell you so many stories you just don't even understand what it tells you, kind of thing. So, I like to help people at the beginning really think about that, like cash flow management. What is cash flow management? Why does it matter? What kind of story does it need to tell you? What is a profit and loss? What is revenue growth? How do you do that on a bottoms-up format? And, and then how do you figure out a balance sheet in the end? And those things may feel like those are just numbers. No, that's the story of your business. That's the narrative of your business. It is not just a number in the end. And so I do like to help, I guess, startups in that direction because that's where I feel like the lane I can be most helpful in as far as it goes. And maybe there's other things I can do, but I like to volunteer my time on that front. So that's where I like to get back.
One last question.
Thank you, Biagi, right? Thank you for asking that. I was just wondering if you worked with startup companies, smaller companies that are looking to scale, and if you do, how would we get in touch with you to make them conversations happen?
Yeah, I got some business cards up here. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's how Glenn found me.
That's exactly how I found it. You're right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, James Card, I appreciate you, bro. Jennifer DiMotta, Tiffany Gamble, Sherry Strong, who almost, Sherry, we saved the day today. And what's your name again? Kent? Nick. Well, today was a success, but listen, this is the first one of many. Well, I got to talk to the Root tomorrow, but it was a success. We got 30 more minutes left, guys. Meet somebody new. talk to somebody, give your card to somebody, give your number to somebody, meet somebody today, man. That's pretty much what we got for today. Now, the people that pitched today, you guys are going to be up here. Nick, Tiffany, Sherry, we're going to book a day. You're going to come up here. We're going to do some podcasting, and then I'm going to chop that up, give you some clips so you can use it to promote your business. All right? Shout out to Natalie. Thank you. And the Root. Yeah. What's the code for this iPad?